We just getting started, baby. Did anybody see what Mr. Wardell Steph Curry did to the Portland Trailblazers? They were nobodies. They beat the Giants. Trash. They beat the Broncos. Trash. If you ever watched Dragon Ball Z, my man's was Super Saiyan. I couldn't wear this until we actually caught a dub. And he did all of this damage in 36 minutes. Let that sink in. They beat the Eagles, trash. The Cowboys, trash. The Bengals, trash. The Jaguars, trash. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here on Rob's 2 Cents. My good people, my good people. Hello, world. I'd like to welcome y'all back to the show that's hot with your boy Rob Scott. This is Rob's 2 Cents, baby, the live show. And as you know, man, it's been a while since I've done a live show. I started back recording Rob's 2 Cents last week. I'm back in the game, back focused. Well, I can't even really say back focused. I've always been focused, but just got a little bit more time for work. As you guys know, I'm doing the trade show thing. I'm running the exhibitor services department, doing my thing on the operations side. We got a big show coming up next week. Neocon, which is the seller office equipment. So we setting up for that show this week. I'm about to be working all through the week. So I had a little time. I say I got to put this show out because we got a lot to talk about, man. Your boy steady progressing, and hopefully along the way you guys are progressing as well. And Rob's 2 Cents is progressing. So make sure you kick your feet up, sit back. If you're listening to this in the morning, enjoy your morning commute and drive safe on the road. And tune in for the hottest sports conversation in the nation. This is Rob's 2 Cents, and we live, man. I got my people in here. Wayne, what it do, Wayne, my boy. Hey, you know a shame on you coming, right? Make sure you stay tuned on today's episode. And we got to start off with first, because you know this NFL season. I love the NFL. You love the NFL. Football is America's game. Has the Los Angeles Rams became the new powerhouse in the NFC? If we look at the Los Angeles Rams right now, they are one of three, I believe, unbeaten teams. You have the Los Angeles Rams, you have the Arizona Cardinals, you have the Carolina Panthers, who has been a shock to everybody. Don't know how good Carolina is going to be now that Christian McCaffrey, their stud running back, is suffering from a hamstring injury, had to leave the game this past Sunday. But we're going to focus on the Los Angeles Rams because they made a statement this past Sunday by beating the GOAT, by beating the favorite to win it all again. The Los Angeles Rams played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the final score being 34 Rams, 24 Buccaneers. They were able to hold the Buccaneers at bay. Now remember, with the Los Angeles Rams, they have probably one of the best defenders to ever play the game of football in Aaron Donald. And the Rams came to play because a lot of the yards that Tom Brady got was in garbage time. If we look at the game, we look at the stats, we're going to look at what Tom Brady and the Buccaneers were able to do on their side of the ball. Now, Tom Brady doing goatish things. He was 41 of 55. Keep in mind, 55 passing attempts is a lot of attempts for a regular quarterback, let alone a quarterback that's 44 years old in his 20th NFL season. He threw for 432 yards, as I mentioned before. A lot of those yards was in garbage time. I'm just gonna let y'all know they were held at bay for those first 3 quarters. He also had 1 touchdown, no turnovers, and they had no help in the running game. You want to know how I know? It ain't because my teacher told me so. It's because the stats don't lie. Tom Brady was the leading rusher for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let me say that again. Tom Brady, as goatish as he is, we all know that he's not the most athletic person in the world, at least not when it comes to using his legs. Tom Brady had 3 carries for 14 yards and had a touchdown scoring on a QB sneak, which I will give to Tom Brady. As far as quarterback sneaks go, he's probably the best quarterback sneak quarterback in the league. He just knows how to dive through that hole. He knows where the hole is going to be at any offensive line. He knows where they're going to separate the defensive line, and he's able to get to where he needs to go. Doesn't take much athleticism to do that. Just takes a little bit of knowledge and knowing your offensive line. But Tom Brady was the leading rusher on the field for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The second rusher, Ronald Jones II, which everybody called him Rojo, he only had 5 carries for 11 yards. Now, I'm not going to put all this on Rojo. You have to give your running backs the ball and allow them to create. 5 carries is not going to cut it. I'm just being real with y'all. And to rely on Tom Brady's arm, as great of a quarterback as he is, as goatish as he is, Father Time is undefeated. And not saying that Tom Brady is old, but you want to prolong your quarterback by not making him throw 55 times during this game, especially against a top-notch defense like the Los Angeles Rams. Mike Evans had a pretty big day. He had 8 receptions for 106 yards, and Chris Godwin did his thing with 6 receptions and 74 yards. Gronkowski was okay, 4 receptions for 55 yards. And remember, Antonio Brown did not play this game. Antonio Brown was out due to COVID. Now, I believe he is vaccinated, so the rule states that if you do catch COVID while you're vaccinated in the NFL, that he doesn't have to quarantine for a full 7 to 14 days. I believe he's going to miss this game and possibly be back for next week's matchup. So, as we can see, the Buccaneers didn't bring their A game, especially because the defense couldn't stop anybody. Let me tell you why. If you guys haven't heard or you don't know, the Los Angeles Rams decided to make a quarterback change this past offseason. They decided to get away from Jared Goff, even though Jared Goff almost led them to a Super Bowl. They decided that they needed another quarterback to take over the reins. And they went all in, giving up young draft picks, giving up some money to go get Matthew Stafford from the Detroit Lions. Now, some of you may not know Matt. Matt is a great quarterback. Remember that Hall of Fame year, I want to say back in, 2013? When him and Megatron went off. I mean, absolutely berserk. No, excuse me, it was 2011. When he had 41 touchdowns on the year and only 16 interceptions. Remember, he was throwing it to Calvin Johnson, who's now a Hall of Famer now. Shout out to Calvin Johnson. Shout out to Megatron. And they had a heck of a year in 2011. Since then, Matthew Stafford hasn't really had that personnel in Detroit. You can tell he always had the makings to be a great quarterback. He just needed a team around him. And now you bring him to the Los Angeles Rams, where they have a Cooper Kupp, who I'm starting to dub old reliable. Sorry, Alvin Kamara, but Cooper Kupp just gets the job done. I mean, you need a quarterback, you need a receiver who's going to run in the backfield. Cooper Kupp will do it for you. You need somebody to catch the short yardage play. Cooper Kupp will do that for you. You need somebody to go long, get you a touchdown, somebody with guaranteed hands. Cooper Kupp will do that for you. And Cooper Kupp showed up definitely this past game. Not to mention the Los Angeles Rams decided to add a deep threat to their game by bringing in my boy D-Jack. Now, if you guys don't remember, Desean Jackson back in Philly caused havoc for defenders. The boy is fast. And like they used to say about Derrick Rose, fast don't lie. You can't teach height and you can't teach speed. Some people are just naturally fast. And Desean Jackson happened to be one of those guys. Now you bring him in with a quarterback who has an arm like Matthew Stafford, who's going to get him the ball. Just last week, Coach Sean McVay said, I didn't use Desean Jackson like I needed to use him. And boy, oh boy, did he use him against Tampa Bay. If we look at what Matthew Stafford did, Juju, my boy, what's going on? If we look at what Matthew Stafford did, he was 27 of 38 in the air. Threw for 343 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Not to mention those 4 touchdowns were back to back to back to back. The boy went bananas. If we look at what they did, he scored 2 in the second quarter. He scored 2 in the third quarter, especially in that second quarter where he was able to get the touchdown right before the half ended. The Buccaneers didn't want to give him back the ball, but Matthew showed up and showed out. We look at his help. Desean Jackson, as I just mentioned, deep threat. He only caught the ball 3 times. But guess what? He had 120 reception yards, including a 75-yard touchdown in which he just simply outran everybody. He didn't even run straight in the end zone when he caught the ball. He zigzagged around. That's how fast D-Jack is. Not a guy that you want to let fly past your backfield. And then Cooper Kupp, what I call him, reliable. What did he give you? Oh, he just gave you 9 receptions for 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, this offense under Matthew Stafford with Coach McVay at the helm, at the reins, leading the team, calling the play, the Los Angeles Rams are going to be looking like the team to beat. Not to mention when you go on that defense and you have players like Aaron Donald, you got players like Jalen Ramsey, who's just destroying people in that secondary, not even letting the great Tom Brady get comfortable. The Los Angeles Rams are looking like the team to beat in the NFC. And you have to remember, with Matthew Stafford, that ain't Kenny Golladay back there. That ain't Danny Amendola back there. That's not even Marvin Jones back there. That's Cooper Kupp and D-Jack in that receiving core. He got some weapons. Not to mention, we haven't even seen Robert Woods show up yet. And that's that running back that can do it all. He can give you yardage on the ground. He can become an eligible receiver and catch the ball and give you yards in the air. Right now, the Los Angeles Rams have some weapons, and they ready to use them. Not to mention, did I mention Aaron Donald already, who's going to go down as probably one of the best defensive players to ever play the game? Y'all keep your eyes on the Los Angeles Rams, because if you want to know what Rob's 2 cents is, the Rams are for real. But we're going to transition into somebody that's not for real. Charlie, what's up, my brother? How you feeling, man? Appreciate you for showing up. Juju, my boy, appreciate you for showing up. We're going to talk about somebody that's not for real. And that's the coaching staff of the Chicago Bears. In particularly, Matt Nagy. Now, you guys know one of my favorite words I like to use. I like to use trash. And that performance that we seen from the Chicago Bears versus the Cleveland Browns, who is not the Cleveland Browns of old. This is a great team. You have to remember, they got Odell Beckham Jr. You got Baker Mayfield in that backfield doing all type of things for you. You got Nick Chubb as your running back. You got Kareem Hunt as your running back. I mean, they got some players over there that get the job done. So don't overlook or sleep on Cleveland. Remember, they're one of the top dogs in the AFC. But if we look at what the Bears did against this team, and by the way, they lost to the Cleveland Browns 26-6. We were only able to get 3 field goals, and even that was a miracle, because I know it's my favorite segment. It's your favorite segment. Shame on you, Chicago. Shame on the Chicago Bears for losing the way that they did to the Cleveland Browns. Oh, I have to talk about everything. First of all, Shame on the offensive line for not being able to stop a cold. If they was a vaccine, this offensive line can't stop COVID. You can't even stop the chicken pox. I mean, every time Justin Fields looked up, he had a defender in his face. How can you expect a young rookie to progress and grow into his position as the quarterback, as the manager of this football team, as the big dog, when he can't even get a moment to hike the ball and get 2 seconds behind the offensive line to find an open receiver? I mean, we look at offensive linemen like Peters, who just look confused all day. The Bears it's when he called hike, I don't even think they blocked. They all turned around and said, why don't you hit the quarterback this time? Giving up 9 sacks on a young rookie quarterback. Shame on the offensive line for that. And most importantly, shame on Coach Nagy, who I don't even know if we're going to still be calling him coach by the end of the season, for not only not building the game plan around Justin Fields, knowing that you have a quarterback who's athletic, a quarterback who can use his legs. Why didn't you run more Wildcat? Why didn't you run more plays where Justin Fields can get out of the pocket and use his athleticism? Why didn't you bring in more protection? Put tight ends on the end of the line to help these linemen who clearly don't know how to block? No, you ran the same plays that you would call for Andy Dalton. Like Justin Fields and Andy Dalton are the same type of quarterback. You didn't even try to do an in-game adjustment to get more people on the line to protect your young quarterback. Oh, shame on Coach Matt Nagy. I couldn't even put on a Bears hat today. I wanted to wear my Justin Fields jersey. I couldn't even do that. And I don't blame Justin Fields not one bit for this loss. You're getting your first NFL start. You're excited. You're ready to play. You know what you're capable of. As I spoke about in my last couple of shows, we're talking about a guy who led the Ohio State Buckeyes to 2 undefeated regular seasons. Who led the Ohio State Buckeyes in an epic game against Clemson when they had lost the year before to that very same team, and Justin Fields was able to play and get them to win even though he was hurt during that game. Even Sports Illustrated called it legendary. A guy that took his team to the National College Championship game only to lose to Alabama, which is not a bad team to lose to. Alabama, Roll Tide. They win a lot. And you coming in the NFL, coming to a Chicago Bears team with receivers like Allen Robinson, which I don't know where Allen Robinson has gone. It's not the Allen Robinson we saw in Jacksonville. You're thinking you have a good receiving core. You're thinking your offensive line is going to give you some protection. But no. That's not what happened. Y'all let that boy get beat up out there. I felt so bad for Justin Fields. I mean, we look at what the Chicago Bears did. Out of the plays that they ran, you had 42 total plays that resulted in 1 passing yard. Now, even though technically Justin Fields was 6 of 20 in the air and had 68 yards throwing, those sacks, those 9 sacks that you gave up, negated his passing. It left you guys with 1 passing yards and 46 rushing yards on the ground. You mean to tell me out of 42 plays, you were only able to get 47 total yards throughout the game? You telling me that you went 1 of 11 for third downs? That you was 0-1 for fourth down conversions? You let your young quarterback get beat up like that? At least he was able to hold on to the ball. No fumbles, no interceptions. But I'm pretty sure, like Jay Cutler, like Rex Grossman, like Cal Orton, even like what's my name? My boy name that won the Super Bowl. They all have, Nick Foles, they all have bad dreams about the opposing defenders hitting them, beating them up, because there's no protection in Chicago. How can you expect to have a running game? David Montgomery had 10 carries for 34 yards. I don't blame him for that. He has no holes to run it through. He has no blocking, no protection. The Chicago Bears are looking real bad right now. And I hate to say it because I had high hopes for this team. Justin Fields was a breath of fresh air, and I believe that maybe he can hopefully get the job done. But before you start to look at the roster, you need to cut the head of the snake. GM Orlando Pace and Coach Matt Nagy, they got to go. They got to go. Matt Nagy hasn't even, we lucked up and made it to the playoffs last year because they finally allowed 7 teams to go to the playoffs and not the traditional 6. We lucked up and got in there. I just felt so bad for the kid, man. So, I would say keep your eyes on the Chicago Bears, but after what we saw this past Sunday, is it really anything to look at? The good news is they're going to be going against the Detroit Lions, who are reeling from a close nail biter against the Baltimore Ravens, which I'm gonna touch on that a little bit on this show. But just a horrible output from the Chicago Bears. I mean, you make the Cleveland Browns look like the second coming of the '85 Bears. I mean, Myles Garrett had 4.5 sacks in this game. He just broke a franchise record for the Cleveland Browns. And what made matters so worse is that he laughed about it after the game while he was being interviewed. He said, I thought they were going to make some in-game adjustments. They made life so easy for the Cleveland Browns because you decided that we're going to stick to our plays, we're going to stick to our guns, and we're going to just do what we already planned for. Everybody has a good plan until they get punched in the mouth. And man, the Bears got punched in the mouth from the time that the ball was kicked off. Just a horrible, horrible, horrible display. Horrible performance from the Chicago Bears. And I blame everybody but Justin Fields. Hell, I even want to thank the defense for holding Cleveland to just 26 points. Because the way we played, Cleveland should have been a 6-touchdown game. Baker Mayfield should have had his way with the Chicago Bears defense as much as they was on the field. 1 for 11 on third down conversions? Come on, Chicago, you got to do better than that. But I got to talk about a team who's doing a little better this year. In the words of Skip Bayless, what's up, cuzzo? Thank you for coming in. How about them Cowboys, man? I am in awe. I am in shock because, like many people, I hate Cowboy fans. Oh, my God. Cowboy fans are just something else. The Dallas Cowboys can do no wrong in the eyes of a Cowboy fan. No accountability is held, nothing. But the Cowboys right now are 2-1, leading their division, which is the NFC East, which is probably the worst NFL division in the league. Remember, this division houses the Philadelphia Eagles, the Washington football team, the Dallas Cowboys, and the New York Giants. That's not a very good division. But right now, the Cowboys are winning their division with the 2-1 record. They just beat the Philadelphia. I'm going to reinstate myself. I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. They just dog-walked the Philadelphia Eagles 41-21 this past Monday for Monday Night Football, primetime football. And let me tell y'all something. They had a game. First, let's look at the Eagles side of the ball. Jalen Hurts wasn't too bad. 25 of 39, threw for 326 yards, had 2 touchdowns, but also 2 interceptions. And he also had 9 carries for 35 yards on the ground. The receivers didn't do too much. Dallas Goedert, he stepped up with 2 receptions for 66 yards. Jalen Reagor had 5 receptions for 53 yards. Zach Ertz, the trusted tight end for this team, 4 receptions for 53 yards, but nothing too much. But if we look at the Cowboys, man, I got to give a shout out to Dak. Now, remember, Dak had a horrific injury last year. 5 games into the season, snaps his ankle in half. I mean, I still remember the visual on that. Seeing his ankle hang, it just looked horrific. Remember, coming into this season, he's recovering from that injury. He didn't get any preseason snaps, didn't really participate in training camp like that. The only time you really saw his face is when they were filming Hard Knocks, which the Dallas Cowboys was the central attention for Hard Knocks this season. And for him to go through all that, to come out and have a game like he did, game 1, versus the defending champions, versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, had a good game in that game. I mean, he could have played a little better, but he made it a game. Remember, Dallas only lost by like 2 points. I think the final score was 31-29, something like that. And Dak Prescott came out playing. But then you look at what he did this past Monday on Monday Night Football. Jeez, I should have betted on him in fantasy football. I mean, the boy was playing like he was in a video game. 21-26 for 238 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns, no interception. I said, go on, Dak. Do your thing, brother. Ezekiel Elliott turning back the hands of time, just out there eating. 17 carries for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns, proving that he's still a big money player in this league. Man, did you see what the Cowboys are doing? And right now, they are winning their division. Now, based off the teams that I just mentioned that is in this division, I don't see the Giants doing anything. I don't see the Eagles doing anything, even though I have faith in Jalen Hurts. They're dealing with too many injuries right now. I mean, they just lost Brandon Graham, for the rest of the year. They're losing players left and right. I mean, I don't see the Eagles being able to overcome these injuries. And let's just face it, the Washington football team defense is not the same defense that we saw last year. Not to mention, they're putting all their faith in Heineke. And I have no problem with Heineke, but Heineke has not proven himself in this league for me to say that's the guy that's going to take this team far. You gotta earn your keep, in my eyes. And right now, I feel like if the Cowboys are able to win this division, they are going to make some noise in the playoffs. Dak Prescott is playing like every bit of that $75 million that he's going to get this year. And I just want to say I'm proud of him. I'm glad he was able to come back from that horrific injury and able to lead his team, to a winning season so far. Because, I mean, hey, if we look at Cowboy records in the past, man, Cowboys haven't always been the best team. I mean, we talking about the Cowboys here. I'm not ready to jump on the Cowboy bandwagon yet, but I will give credit where credit is due. And right now, the Dallas Cowboys are playing some great football. Couple quick hitters before we get out of here today. I got to give a shout out to Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, mind you, as I just mentioned earlier, the Ravens were able to beat the Detroit Lions 19-17 in a nail-biter. I mean, this game came down to the wire. It came down to Lamar Jackson doing Lamar Jackson things, able to score, well, not score, but get his team in field goal range on 4th down. I mean, I'm reading the reviews of the team, and they're talking about what Lamar Jackson did. It was a 4th and 19, and he converted a 36-yard pass to former Kansas City Chief receiver Sammy Watkins, able to get this team in field goal range. And Justin Tucker said, I will do the rest. And he proceeded to make NFL history on Sunday night. after he was able to nail a 66-yard field goal for the win, giving the Baltimore Ravens the final score of 19, defeating the Lions, who only had 17 points. I mean, the Lions came out, played a hell of a game, able to hold Lamar Jackson at bay, which is kind of hard. Remember, we're talking about a former MVP here, ladies and gentlemen. He was able to hold Lamar Jackson to only one touchdown and one interception and not let him get going on his ground game. As we know, Lamar Jackson likes to run just as much as he likes to pass. And they were able to hold the Baltimore Ravens to just 116 rushing yards. When you make Lamar Jackson a traditional quarterback where he has to throw more than he can use his legs, you probably have a recipe for the win, because you cannot let all-star players do all-star shit. That's just what it comes down to. You can't let the big money players have big money games. And the Lions were able to do that. But the thing about big money players is that I might not always have the best game, but I show up when I'm needed the most. And to complete a 36-yard pass on a 4th and 19 with the game on the line, knowing that if we don't get this 4th down, Detroit wins the game. You at least gave Justin Tucker a chance, and Justin Tucker, who's probably going down under that Adam Vinatieri status, under that Robbie Gold status, as being one of the best kickers in the league, broke the NFL record. Shout out to him. Also, the Kansas City Chiefs has announced that they're going to sign former receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, Josh Gordon, to the practice squad, where Gordon, of course, is hoping that a quick turnaround will lead him to at least the active roster where he gets to play games. Don't know if he'll be a starter, but a receiver like Josh Gordon is definitely needed. As I just mentioned, Sammy Watkins is no longer with the Kansas City Chiefs. He is now a Baltimore Raven. So right now you're relying on Tyreek Hill to take on the burden of having to be the top receiver, which he doesn't mind doing, but it's always good to have a 1-2 punch. And remember, with this now, you have a 1-2-3 punch with the Kansas City Chiefs, because not only do you have Tyreek Hill, not only do you have probably the second greatest tight end to ever play the game and Travis Kelce, but now you're bringing in a proven receiver like Josh Gordon. The only problem with Josh Gordon is he's been suspended from the NFL 6 times, with 5 of those times being because he can't stop getting caught smoking weed. I mean, you are losing money because you want to get high. Play your game, retire afterwards, get as high as you want to. But if you know that your job has a marijuana mandate where they don't want you smoking and you're making millions of dollars, I can put weed on hold to make my money and to play the game that I love in the NFL. Now, I understand it ain't right. I know a lot of these players use marijuana for medical reasons. You know, it's better than getting drugged up by these legal drugs that the pharmacy provide people. All the cortisone shots that they have to take in their knees and things to try to combat head trauma. Remember, the human head ain't supposed to be used in the way that some of these NFL players are using them, but it happens. And sometimes they don't want to drink all the time or be drugged up on what we call legal drugs. They want to, smoke a little marijuana, ease themselves in, relax. Let the marijuana do its medical treatment. So as you see, a lot of states in the United States are making this marijuana legal, even for recreational use, because if you're going to allow cigarettes and alcohol to be legal, well, why not throw in marijuana, right? But the NFL is still strict on that protocol of not allowing players to indulge in marijuana usage. So Josh Gordon has been suspended 5 times for not being able to stop his habit. So let's hope for the Kansas City sake, for the Kansas City Chiefs' sake, that he's able to conduct himself professionally, able to finish out a full season, and able to make their active roster and come and contribute. Because let me tell you guys something, all jokes aside, Josh Gordon is a bad boy. I mean, we're talking about somebody that in 2013 he had 1,646 total reception yards. Talking about a guy that when he was with the New England Patriots, even though he only had 12 games played, he had 41 receptions for 737 yards, including 4 touchdowns. This is not a run of the mill type of receiver. He can be a game changer for your team. We never said that he wasn't talented. We just said that he's not disciplined enough to keep himself from getting suspended. Remember, he was out in the players only what is it called, fans choice league, where he was playing with Johnny Manziel, doing his thing in that league. Now making his return back to the NFL, playing for a championship contender who pretty much needs him right now, because right now Kansas is on a 2-game losing streak and not looking like the Kansas City Chiefs of old. And to get Pat Mahomes another weapon, let me just tell you, if this works out how they plan on it working out, y'all better watch out for the Kansas City Chiefs. Woo! I love the NFL, y'all. So much to keep our eyes on for this not upcoming season, but for the season that's going on now. And last but not least, I got to hit you with a little NBA. The NBA has ran into a problem. The NBA, they do not have a vaccine mandate in place. However, they are going to honor the vaccine mandates in the respective states that they have teams on. Mainly New York and California, in which I haven't heard too much about the Lakers or the Clippers, but I know the Golden State Warriors, the Brooklyn Nets, and the New York Knicks are going to have players that miss home games if they are not vaccinated. Now, I heard this report this morning, been reading up on it all day. It's going to pose a problem for certain NBA teams, especially because it's being reported Kyrie Irving is possibly not vaccinated. I mean, we already haven't seen the big three that much out there in Brooklyn play together. I think they only played, 8 or 9 games last year together. Now we're talking about Kyrie Irving missing possibly 41 games because he's not vaccinated. I haven't heard anybody from the Knicks not being vaccinated, but I know Andrew Wiggins of the Golden State Warriors came out and told the media he's not vaccinated. He doesn't believe in the vaccination. You had several other players speak out, like Jonathan Isaacs, who said he believes that he has natural antibodies to combat COVID-19 because he had COVID already. So it's just a lot going on. You got, of course, everybody's on the other side of the fence. A lot of people don't like the fact that their rights are being taken away, that they feel forced to take this shot. I mean, hey, whatever your views are on the vaccination, you can't blame people for feeling how they feel, because we live in a country where it was built on deceit. This country was built off of deceit, and the government has never openly been, transparent with the public. It just hasn't happened. So I can't blame people for being suspicious of a vaccine that was made quickly. And I also can't blame people who are for the vaccine, excuse me, that want to protect their loved ones, that want to protect themselves. So I have respect for both sides of the argument. I just wish people were able to have a dialogue, a decent dialogue, and behave like adults when it comes to that conversation. But it is what it is. So that's going to pose a possible problem in the upcoming NBA season. Who's vaccinated, who's not vaccinated, what other states will join this mandate. Because if you look up, Texas is a hot zone right now. New Orleans is a hot zone right now. Miami is a hot zone right now. Those southern states right now are catching this Delta variant very badly right now. And hospitals are filled up down south right now. I mean, even at one of my trade shows, they were telling me how bad it is down south. So, our thoughts and prayers are with everybody battling this disease, for our frontline workers who are trying to, help us feel a little bit of normalcy in our lives, man. God bless America. God bless the world. That's what we need right now. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's my show. I appreciate you guys for sticking around, for joining your boy. Hey, I got nothing but love for y'all. Y'all comments, y'all views, you kind words. It keeps me going. Remember, you can catch your boy on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, of course, Facebook Live. And coming very soon, yet again, you can catch me on Brother Jerry Rouse' Roku channel, The Rewind Sports 60. Make sure you guys are supporting him. A legend in the Chicago sports talk game. Learning so much from that man, and I appreciate him for taking me under his wing. You guys, again, make sure you support the Rewind Sports 60 Roku channel. Make sure you support me on all my different avenues. I got nothing but love for y'all, baby, and I hope y'all continue to be great. Don't be good, be great. And you already know the slogan, baby. We go! There's a bigger fight going on. There's a much bigger agenda than the streets. And I know sometimes it's hard to see that far in front of us, but we have to look past the illusions, look past the delusions of grandeur, and look at the bigger picture. We need to become better versions of ourselves each and every day. Fight for what you believe in. Because if you're staying for nothing, you'll fall for anything. We just getting started, baby. You guys know the slogan now. Hope you all have a great evening. And we go.